Hola, Kules. We are back with another episode of Fullback, our podcast on Spotify and iTunes. Brand new year, same old Barça, and the second half of the season. The winter break was exciting because for Barça fans, it's always exciting. There's something always happening, and it's very informative. You need to learn about law, you need to learn about politics, you need to learn about economics. You learn everything when you're a Barça fan. So, for those who are interested in law and economics, the winter break had wonderful content in the terms that we again struggled with registration, and Pau Victor and Dani Olmo were deregistered from La Liga, which created all kinds of media furor about Barcelona and how Barcelona is broke and how Laporta is useless. And there were questions about no censure motion. There was questions about asking Laporta to step down. Many things happened. Barca went to court, and then they got a court injunction. And 5 days later, Dani Olmo and Pau Victor were temporarily registered till April 7th, when the government will have to give the final result on this. In the meantime, we are already hearing that many other clubs, La Liga and REAF, might also countersue and have another case. It's a full movie. It happens every transfer window for Barcelona. It's sad that we laugh about it because a decade ago we couldn't have thought about this, but now this has become commonplace and it's embarrassing as a fan. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the winter window. Barcelona apparently sold some VIP seats and they made some money out of this. And because of that, they're back into 1:1, which means they can sign players. We'll talk a little bit about that. And we'll talk about what does the rest of the season look like because Barca is not doing that well.
The point you made about Barca fans having to be doctors and lawyers and be versed in economy and money and all that, it's absolutely true. We often say that Barca coaches and players need to be versatile, but the fans need to be versatile as well. They need to be very mentally strong to be able to endure these things, at least lately, right? In the last 5-6 years, Barca have been a big roller coaster. Barca have been up. They've had ups and downs and more downs than ups, sadly. This means that the fans, the average fan, which we are, we have to be ready for everything. The point you made about this being an embarrassing situation, I think is true as well. Because Barca are a team that represents millions of fans. Barca are a team that claims to be more than a club, right? If these things are consistently happening, then what are you actually telling the world? What face of yours are you showing the world? That matters a lot, not just in the eyes of the fans, but also in the eyes of other teams, the potential new players, especially when you are someone like Laporta who wants big signings, who wants players to look to Barca and say, okay, I want to play for this team. I want to be in this team. And even Viña, one of our captains, came out and said, okay, this is embarrassing. If I was a player, I would not be looking to Barca and saying, okay, I want to be there. But he is here now. He's our captain and he's doing his best. Even the players within the team are recognizing, okay, this should not be happening to a team like Barcelona. And Dev, you're far more versed in finances and all that stuff. So what is going on at Barcelona? What does it actually mean for our transfer windows and for our overall finances?
Barca finances are also set up in so convoluted manner. It's not easy. Correct. And they have had to be convoluted because it has been difficult for them. The thinking was that the Nike bonus would be enough to make up for the 160 million in losses from Barca Vision, because that's the problem, right? They created this fictional company, raised $200 million of funds, and then there was no money. So Barca got the benefit of showing they had money when they did not. The last fiscal, they called out that they have taken a loss of about $160 million, and $40 million were paid for by a catering company. And that was the balance. But even in this 160 million that they talked about, the thinking was that the bonus from Nike would make that happen. But the bonus was pro-ratified over the term of the contract. So it means that you could not amortize that fund one shot. Right. You have to do it every year for 10 million or whatever that may be. Obviously, that did not add up to the 160 million that was required and so on. Right. Now, what they have done is they sold some VIP seats, and I don't know how many, because depending on whom you read, there's a number. Let's assume they sold some seats for a particular amount of time, for a particular value. The only thing they have done this time around is taken the money up front. There will be a subscription every year. On top of that, it is this lump sum they have invested back in. This is what they're saying has brought them back into 1:1. Now, let's think about our situation with the renewals. Pedri has a renewal, Gavi has a renewal, lots of players have renewals, and they're all going to ask for more money. The moment that happens, wage bill changes, The moment weight bill changes, all calculations change, right? It's very
Yeah.
hard to say whether we will be 1:1 when we go into summer. We don't know that. In all possibility, we'll have to sell a couple of players. I think there's a bit of balancing that's going to happen, but at the same time, you're going to hire new players, so they will have cost and all of that. What is very interesting is the amount of anger or ill will Barcelona
Yeah.
has in majority of the Western media and a lot of the local Spanish media as well. It's
Yeah.
insane. We should never have got a player if we were not sure about registration. And we were never
Exactly.
like it was Christensen suddenly got ill and that's why Olmo played. This should never have happened. So that's obviously Barcelona's fault. But that said, it does feel there's a lot of noise for something that maybe does not deserve that much.
Yeah, it's always like that with Barca, right? A big club, successful club, because usually people or other clubs or other fan bases will hate on Barca. It's our own fault because we brought this upon ourselves in a way, or at least Bartomeu has, and all those people have. We obviously didn't get the ideal deals, right? The Nike deal, I think it was supposed to be more money than it was in the end. The VIP seats, and I think they cut the funds in half or something. There was supposed to be 200 million, we got 100 million, something like that. Now, how does that impact us right here, right now? In terms of wage bills, does that money actually help us register players? And if not, what does that money do? Is that money just purely long-term money to stabilize the club in the future? Is it something that can help us buy players now or register players now?
Help us in registering a new player that we might get. So let's say Marcus Rashford comes
Yeah.
and we hire him for a loan fee or whatever. We will be able to register him. Doesn't mean we will be able to register Dani Olmo if the court says no, even if we have
See,
the money.
yeah.
Example. So that's that. Is it a big chunk of money for us to pay back debts? No, it isn't. It just allows us to invest whatever we earn at 1:1 into player signings instead of the 1/4. So earlier it was like if you earn $1, you can only
Yeah,
spend
you.
cents. Now we can spend $1.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. 2028 is the first big installment from Goldman Sachs that we need to
Right.
return, but I don't think that should be a problem. I don't think finance in that way is a problem. A lot of this will be utilized and will be needed for these new contracts that are going to be signed and the new wages that will be given because they need to be calculated within that salary mass. Now, we don't know what that will be. We don't know who will get what, but we do know for a fact that Pedri, Gavi, all these players are waiting for new contracts to come in.
Right.
And I don't see Barcelona not fulfilling that. They will. So obviously, that calculation has to be done within this.
So when we say balance the wage bill, what would that mean for Barca, and how does these new funds help us balance the wage bill?
So the wage bill that they gave La Liga earlier in the year was about $420 million. All these players who left, they all deferred their wages. That cost is still going. We're still paying for them. So that money, plus I don't know what Lewandowski's wages will be if he plays 20 more matches or what Inigo Martinez's wages will be if he plays 25 more matches. But those will come into play. Let's assume that Barca's regular earnings are around 850 to 900, right? And your wage bill alone is, let's say, 600 million or 650 million, which is what it was till last year, right?
Okay.
There's very little money left for you to do anything else because there are other salaries to be given, loans to be repaid, stadiums to be built. For Barca as a large club, a wage bill of about 450 to 500 is probably a good wage bill to have, but we haven't been there for the longest time. And I don't know how we can be, given that we'll still have to go and buy new players who are not going to come for cheap. Like we are talking about Alexander Isak. That will be how much? 100 million? More than that. At the same time, will the best players come or not? I think ultimately that really doesn't matter. Players, if they get the money and if they get the confidence that, okay,
You'll be registered and
for
so
it,
on. They'll
right?
come, yeah.
Because if you look into Arsenal, like for the last 15 years, they didn't win anything. And now they are a good team and people want to play for Arsenal. People's memories are very short. People forget. So I don't think this has any long-term impact from that perspective. If they make money, but from a PR perspective, for sure, it does impact in the short run. And obviously, we are going to see the ramifications of that into this window and the summer window.
Yeah, because Barca are a brand, so they need to look after their brand, right? And this does tarnish the brand. So yeah, this is the main point I was trying to get from you. Let's start with sales, which are Frankie De Jong and Ronald Araujo. I think two of the biggest sales we can make are those two players. and two of the likeliest sales, maybe not now in January, but in the summer, almost definitely. I think Frankie de Jong, especially his mind, he's gone. He's not here at all. Even he plays, and he does play occasionally, but he's just not present. A shell of what was once on the pitch, and that obviously impacts the way he performs. It is sad because we know he's not a bad player. We've been saying this for the longest time. When he eventually goes to a different team, let's say Arsenal, he will suddenly be this elite player. I have no doubt that he will be elite. And we'll all be here saying, oh, we had this player for 5 years and we've done nothing with him. And now Arsenal have him and he's elite. The reality is, this player, as he is right now, he's unlikely to recover whatever form. That's a big issue because to play at this highest of levels and that Barca want to reach eventually again, you can't be this mentally absent player.
For the better of both of Barca and Frankie, I think
Mhm.
an exit is the best thing because he deserves to have a good career. He deserves
Yeah.
to win some trophies. When he came and joined Barca, he didn't think that he would just win one trophy, and that's what he has
Yeah.
won. So a lot of these players like Frankie, Araujo, came at a time when it was the worst of Barca. Honestly,
Mhm.
nobody thought that they would have to see this, but they went through this. And so obviously their perception, their mentality, the way they have it's completely different. And there will be some scars there if they're unhappy, and you can see that. And if there has been constant speculation about them for years, maybe it's not a bad idea for them to go. They'll find something better to do. They will be happier, and with them leaving, new people will come in, and that will improve the morale of the squad. The fans
Yeah.
are already against them massively, and that is a very hard thing to recover.
This is the thing with big clubs, right? Even Mbappe, who's a player that's considered to be the best of this generation, he comes to Real Madrid, underperforms for a couple of games, and the media are like vultures on them, right? And he himself comes out and he says, "I did not expect this amount of attention to be burning on the back of my head all the time." And that's what happens when you play for these top clubs, especially in Spain, because in Spain, let's just be real,
Yeah.
the media are just horrible. And that goes for coaches and players, even as fans who have a presence in social media. You say one wrong word on social media and the vultures come clashing and they will tear you apart.
Unfortunately, it's sad because Ronald is actually a good defender. He's a better defender than Inigo Martinez, and he has a lot of value. For whatever reason, situations, instances, there have
Yeah.
been things that have gone wrong, and he has been disconnected for a while, and that it will be a bad miss for us. A bad miss. He's a really good player, and he could have, marked an era at the club.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's going to happen. But he's probably the only one who's going to get us some money. Frankie de Jong is going to go on a free. So we are going to save some money on the wages. So I think those two. I think Eric Garcia is also possibly looking at exit. I think Ansu Fati is also looking at exit. I don't know at this level, even Fermin Lopez, if he continues like this the whole season, I don't see him super excited to play with us next season. And
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be the same player under Flick that he was with Xavi. So there are 4 or 5 players that you can immediately think about. Maybe they are not going to be there for a long time.
And it's so strange to say, but all these players have quality. Some have immense quality, some have a bit less quality, but none of them are going to be huge misses for us. That's the funny thing about this. Araujo has the quality to impact a team. And all these players have certain quality, but they're not. So they leave, and we don't change drastically because we've been playing without Frankie and Araujo for the better part of a year. Anyways, this Barca doesn't change that much with their absence. We know that they're good players, they're even elite players in their own regards, but their departures will probably not impact us as much. It's weird. Of course, it's also a flawed way to think about things from my perspective because obviously them not playing is different than them playing and underperforming. It's a different context. But overall, we've not had them for the better part of the year anyway. So we know how to play without them and what we have to do to be successful. We still are a club in a financial distress, but we're still looking at players that are very pricey.
I think one of them is going to come. One pricey player is going to come
Mhm.
because, again, politics. So
Yeah.
elections are going to come up. They're going to spend on one player somehow or the other. So let's spend a few minutes on the ones that are being discussed. I think Marcus Rashford is the first one they're discussing on loan. Not a bad idea, to be entirely honest. On his day, can be lethal. On his day,
Yes.
has the pace, has the presence, has the intelligence. Is a good player. Also, equally in a very mentally funk in Manchester United.
Yeah.
There's reasons. Maybe a change in scenery will do him good. Barcelona get the back advantage of that. But he hasn't been his best self in the last 2 years.
No, absolutely not. The thing is, it's similar to Joao Felix deal, right? I said it's a good deal because I was hoping, okay, a change of scenery is exactly what Felix needs to kickstart his mental state and put him where he needs to be this elite player. And he had a good start, but then he went back to his I don't know, whatever it was. And that's my main concern with Rashford, because as you said, that was a good point. When he's in the game, he's game breaking, he's elite. The things that he can do on the pitch are incredible, but he's not always fully in it. He has these brain fogs. I don't know what you want to call them, but he doesn't perform at his best often enough or consistently enough. So can he do that at Barca? If he can, then you absolutely have a brilliant player. And also, are United paying a huge chunk of his wages now, because he would be on huge wages.
Yeah.
Those are my two things with Rashford. But yes, I do agree. On the face of it, without all the noise around them, just purely as a player at his best, Rashford is a Barca level quality that you need to inject into this current team. And to me, if it's a favorable deal, like a good loan deal, I don't see a negative to it.
No, there we need one. If you ask me, we're struggling to finish consistently. Rafinha has been pretty bad in terms of finishing for quite a while right now, which is I think that's his mean. That's his normal, right? Lewa is Lewa. If we don't get strikers and finishers for the next half of the season, we are not competing for the league title at all. Flick's teams will always create chances. You need a finisher. You need a finisher who can consistently finish 20, 25 goals for the next half of the season. So where is that person who can score 25 goals? Is you got to get somebody from the market. So I'm pretty sure they're going to get somebody. The league title matters for Laporta's presidency. I think one sale and one incoming are happening pretty much. I won't be surprised if that happens. And probably a striker. But I don't know any of the bigger ones will come, because I don't see a Haaland or a Isaac. So it will be somebody like a Rashford who can come in and immediately have an impact.
Is Rashford actually being considered in the winter window or the summer? Oh, right, now. If we're talking about now, like in the next week or so, then yes.
And they're trying to get somebody in. So
yeah, in that case, absolutely. You're not expecting someone like Haaland. That's not happening in the winter window. That rarely happens in the winter window. And if it does happen, it's usually a desperate move that kind of gives all the leverage to the selling team, not the buying team. And we are not a club that can afford to give leverage to the other team, right? Absolutely, I agree. Right now, and right here, Rashford will be one of those signings. Yes, I think he can have an impact from now until the summer. And then in the summer, we get more departures, and then we can talk about potentially bringing probably one, realistically only one player that can be.
One is good enough. If you get one solid and two whatever, I think we are in a good place to really tackle. But it'll be interesting just to watch how it goes. And it'll be interesting because it's just started. More names are going to get attached next week. I'm 100% sure. So we'll see how the transfer window plays out. But for sure, what I believe, especially with the 1:1 happening right now, and given the fact that there is a concern that what happens if Barca lose the wheel on April 7th. There are questions around that as well. I think there will be one incoming at least. So we'll see what happens. And it'll be interesting if an Araujo or a Frankie leave in the window. That's a big one. So we'll have to watch out into that. So,
Dev, while we're on that topic, I would like to ask you for a prediction. If you had to predict who goes and who comes in the summer, what would you say?
Frankie, for sure. I think Laporta will go very hard for a Leao or for a Haaland, especially given Man City's situation, because those are brand names. Barca need a brand name. I still think there is maybe 20% of Araujo opportunity out there because he's not gone yet. The fact that there's only Juventus asking for him makes me wonder. Why would Ronald Araujo go for Juventus? He can go to any club. He knows that. He can go to anyone, right? So yeah, I still think that there is a bit left in that.
I think Frankie is gone. In the summer, he will still have 1 year left on his contract, right? He can be gone for some money, not much, realistically not much, but some money.
He's not adding anything. He's unhappy. Right. Why?
Let him be happy. It's just prolonging the inevitable and just making things worse. So I would actually agree. That says a lot coming from me, because I've been trying to say, okay, no, don't sell him, don't sell him, don't sell him. But now I think it's time for me to admit that
he's just disconnected from everything, from the team, from the game, from everyone.
Yeah. And we all know that there's a player in there.
Fact is, he never fit in Barca. He never did. 5 years is a long time. And if you have it in 5 years, it's better that you.
Yeah, five years and several coaches who have tried in one way or the other. At one point, you just have to say, okay, maybe it's not meant to be.
As Barca don't play in the way that optimizes his skills. That's it. That's basically it. And it was always the case. So unfortunate, but that just tells you why player profiling is so important. And we all know that Barca has been terribly bad at player profiling. So
That is true.
it's just, and a lot of players have suffered for it, and that's just what it is. So that's about it, guys. That's it for this week. The almost saga will continue, and there'll be interesting movement in transfers as well next week and this week. So let's look into it. And then obviously there's this whole cup in the Super Cup. Hopefully, Barca win. This is one of their rare chances of getting a trophy. So I think Flick will go for it completely. But at the same time, it might not be that easy. It won't be that easy. With Real Madrid, they have got a good team. They're all functioning. They're all playing good. So it's not going to be easy. And I just hope doesn't get embarrassing. This is one of the chances to win a trophy for the season. So I think Flick will try his very best to get a trophy.
By the time you listen to this, we'll probably have already recorded a live after the Super Cup, and the results will be there. So hopefully we win. This team can win. This team has quality enough to challenge La Liga, to challenge the Super Cup especially as well. So I think, fingers crossed, and let's support the team. We'll see you guys next week for another episode of Offside. Until then, stay safe and Visca el Barça.